so last year we talked about mantra. And so I've been incorporating mantra, but now I feel like my meditation's like really busy, you know. I don't know if that should be the case, you know. So I find like if my mind starts wandering, I'll go to mantra. And then I'll also, I tried it. For the longest time, I've incorporated metta meditation. So I usually start out with metta, which is loving kindness. And I find that kind of gets me into the mode. And then, you know, I used to be able to just watch a breath, but now I feel like, oh, should I do mantra now? Should I, you know, I feel like there's like all these different.
So yeah, I understand what's the problem. When you utter mantra, at some point the mind absorbs itself into the space. So at that point, mantra dissolves. So the point of any meditation is to dissolve into that space. It doesn't matter which, you know, key you try there. Once the door opens, the key and the door don't matter anymore. There's nothing much to do. It's about just allowing yourself to be without all these. And loving kindness, I understand, but a loving kindness is a natural emanation when the mind exists without thoughts. So let's say you are sitting there without thoughts and people come around and they feel that you are loving kindness. But you have no such thoughts about love or kindness in that moment. You are just a natural being. But when we try to practice something, it means we are not that. We're trying to get that which we're not. Again, the mind goes into the mode of, okay, I have to do something. I have to cultivate love and kindness. Love and kindness is the outcome. Intelligence is the outcome. You can't just want to be all of a sudden intelligent, can you? It's just you are as you are, and this is your level. Then through life experiences, you learn something. I think the ability to let go of certain things is already wisdom. And intelligence is humility, first of all, and simplicity, because we think that, okay, the more I know, but the more you know you, the more you maybe selfish you are, the more, you know, you develop subtle ego. Or the actual, you know, vibration of intelligence is humility. When a being is not, you know, because the more you know, the more humble you become, actually. So the same goes with this mantra. Mantra is a frequency. You are trying to tune your mind to the point where it goes into expansion. It's not something that you're trying to get into your being. It's more like, you know, you utter the mantra. It's a frequency, you know. Then at some point you just feel so good, or it just bursts into silence. You don't want to utter it anymore. You stop. It's just about to tune yourself to that frequency where you just kind of, it's just like you go through a squeezed corridor and then it just opens. That's it, nothing more. So when there is self-analysis, this is not the moment when you analyze yourself or observe yourself. You go for a walk and you observe flowers, trees, and then you walk, you wonder, oh, look at this blossom. Every time you look at the blossom, you realize the power of nature, the creative potential in everything. Once you observe seasons, the way seasons change, you understand how everything is circulating or kind of cyclical. And so these things are separate. For meditation is that kind of ability to simply be without constant analysis about, oh, I'm walking now, oh, I'm looking. It's just merging with the experience. When you're with other people, just maintain silence. What does it mean? Distance self emotionally. So this is the only thing you can do, actually. You can just withdraw into yourself. So you're still there, you're still like participating, but you're not putting on fake smiles. You're just there. If you feel all of a sudden naturally like a smile bursts on your face or emerges, fine. But so it's very important to sort of learn live in a natural way where you stop acting in life, stop pretending being someone, stop pleasing people unnecessarily, especially when you don't feel like. And then sometimes people ask, okay, but what if I feel lazy and I don't want to do anything? You have to give yourself these moments where you actually don't do anything. Like, okay, but again, who says you're lazy? You choose to, to kind of judge yourself as a lazy being, right? Because you just think that, okay, because let's say if in the childhood your father or mother were always saying, hey, go and do this, do this, do this, do this. So when you then have this moment of peace, you feel something's wrong because I have this compulsion to do. And so when I'm in peace, I feel like something is wrong with me. Or I'm not accomplishing, I'm not satisfying someone else's idea about me. You see, spiritual life is such that it takes you away from falsehood, no matter how hard you hold on to it. Yes, it can take sometimes, longer time because let's say you're holding and okay, the life is you, your own consciousness. It will not do bad. It just sees it. You hold on so strongly, so it starts ripping you slower. Sooner or later, it will anyways, dissolve because the point of our existence is the solution of corruption, whether we want it that way or not, whether we believe, whether, we can choose to believe in some religious idea and forget about it. But the fact is that we will experience life circumstances and they can be painful. And then we again exclaim, oh God, what have I done to have it? But you have done nothing. It's just that you don't understand what life is all about. And life is about dissolution of these conscious patterns or accumulation of them. So you may choose to accumulate these patterns and behavior and experiences which shape your behavior further. You may choose to attach to things, but consciousness has these tendencies. Once it feels it's filled up to the brim, it wants to dissolve. It wants to liberate itself. This is the cycle of yin yang, or sort of equanimity, through which equanimity is restored through these tendencies. Once it's to the brim, it starts the other way around. It starts dissolving this, what has been accumulated. So it becomes this process of, if it's too empty, it tries to fill itself up with something. If it's too full, it starts emptying itself. But the point is to understand that all these tendencies are subjected to our manifested reality of existence in the body, in the emotional reality where there are emotional thought patterns. And so if we don't understand this tendency, we are subjected to the false interpretation of life, which is suffering, happiness, I want this, the meaning of life is that. But there's nothing. All these just notions that we create. And so when we want to hold on to everything so tightly, obviously the consciousness within which we exist observes this tendency. So it tries to then liberate itself by causing different kind of changes. And these changes are but natural because the change reveals our weaknesses, reveals our corruption. The change shatters illusion of whatever settlement in life that we've created, that comfortable niche that we found. It's happening and it teaches one and the same thing, which is shifting the perspective onto life somehow, I think. Because there's still like me and my spirituality, but it shouldn't be like this. It should be, I exist, Not like the philosopher said, I think, therefore I exist, or vice versa, but I just exist, I am the being. And so what is this then being now? So if you feel like this being is to talk. If you feel that this being is to be without speaking. Remain so. Thus, you don't, create hustle. You know what is hustle? Hustle means that you act when you shouldn't, and it just stresses you because you go against your own tendency. You try to do things that you shouldn't be doing when you should be just remaining as you are. Sometimes you want to make a decision when the time is not right to make a decision. You see, it means that you exist in some kind of a self-created flow. And this self-created flow is conditional. Since it's conditional, it will cause pain or pleasure from time to time, depending on how you follow this. But it still is not a natural flow. Because a natural flow means that I know when the moment is to act and when is to abstain, when the moment is to just be. And when you catch this natural flow, you see that life is sort of just flowing smoothly without these peaks. Because once you look for one peak, the other peak will arise too. So that's the point of equanimous being, or the golden middle. And it's not a theory. It's just, you know what equanimity is, at least you tasted it in glimpse. So that equanimity is the meditation. So, for instance, you are sitting, meditation. You are talking, meditation. You are eating, meditation. Everything, meditation. And as long as that is the, the foundation, the essence, so everything else is just a flow. The flow that cannot be stopped, because manifestation is such, it's just purging itself out through all these, it seems like through different people, different circumstances, but it's just like one flow. Whether it's good or bad, who knows? Just a flow. This is the dimension, the frequency that we share. So, and also when you are in that natural flow, you just naturally cannot, or you just don't have that impulse within to just look at other people's gardens, observe what other people do, because you see that other people are just there because they're the archetypes within your own being, which you manifest and through which you reflect yourself back to yourself. And so these beings, they are there and they have their own flow, and you're not responsible for that flow. All you're responsible for is your natural flow, so that you hold on to it. In this case, everything else arranges itself in a comfortable way, arranges itself in a kind of a natural order. But when there is disorder within the self, you constantly, react to other people's attention or this and that, and everything seems to be chaotic and hustly kind of, because you try to arrange other people's flows too, but you have no such power. So then there is no order, and everything seems to be stressful. So you see, it's not about what we're facing from the outside world. It's about how we are ourselves facing the world, how we choose to relate to the world. Because you can still be in the world, but you relate in a very specific manner. You engage with the world by will, not by compulsion or reaction. So the world has no power over your consciousness, because the world is just a kind of like a bubble that you produced around yourself. So that, and then you reflect yourself back. But once you are the consciousness that understands the principles of creation and manifestation, so you understand that whatever is outside just helps you to understand yourself and integrate yourself with the natural flow, rather than it is something that is against you. It is not against you. But when we have that perspective, that's the world that which we perceive as if from the outside is against us, It means that we are victimized. And victimization is the corruption of the consciousness. It's a false perception where the individual consciousness so much associates with the, bodily existence, bodily because it's one unit. The body itself is not the one to blame. It's the mind that perceives this sort of self as a unit and then opposes self to the other. That's where the issue arises, So when people say, oh, I would like to leave my family, I would like to go and be alone, or I hate these people around me, they obstruct my spiritual life. No, they are the manifestations of that occulted, meaning hidden conscious archetypes within the self. They represent the living characteristics of that consciousness, which is you, and all its whatever corruption. Because otherwise they would be just like equal elements, like trees and the sky and the sun and all the other natural elements, because the natural world is not a part of our human existence. So for us, it's like a scenery. You walk, you don't like relate to that necessarily all the time. It's just like a scenery which is passing by. So the same way would be all these people. If they are not a part of your consciousness, they are the scenery, they are just there. They're passing by, But once something attracts your attention, it means that it's actually the consciousness itself, through the power of its own manifestation, manifested this experience, and through the power of attraction, forced you. It's not forced, but it's a force that operates to draw our individual, conscious attention into the experience and attract that to us so that we can reflect ourselves back. Because that which has manifested is within us. And only by the power of that attraction of the individual consciousness to that experience, you are able to recognize it. So in this case, you might choose to act differently. On one hand, you may choose to be a victim and unconsciously operate through these experiences and just randomly have emotions and thoughts invoked, or you consciously realize and recognize that your consciousness and you are as a consciousness, not just a word, I am consciousness, I am the one, blah, blah, liberated thing, but I observe myself in life, and myself, which means I'm everything. I'm the consciousness, I'm the individual consciousness, I'm the collective consciousness, I'm the universal being consciousness, existence. So I just observe. I observe and I learn. I don't take life as a platform for satisfaction, for my pleasure, personal pleasure, or I'm not pleasure seeking, I'm not validation seeking, I'm not looking for someone to love me or to praise me or to do anything for me, or I should do anything for me. I see life as a platform where I am learning to free myself from corruption, because I'm not in any advanced cycle of time. I am in the cycle of time where corruption is to the brim. So my task is to see life as a platform for my evolution, and everyone else as the essential players and key points for my evolution, through which I understand my own corruption. So you see, once you shift this perspective, there's a totally different understanding then of life. Like everything that we as limited, ignorant humans put the meaning to, it all fails, it just dissolves. And nothing then matters. Nothing matters in the sense of our old human understanding. Through emotions, through thought, through, okay, we have some this and that we have to accomplish. We don't see life as the platform to accomplish something so that other people would say, yes, he's an accomplished man. We understand now that our existence is to free ourselves, and to free ourselves means to contribute to the freedom of the collective consciousness. in general, like we participate actively as a living consciousness in this cycle, hoping to finally understand that by diving into matter, by accumulating all this corruption that helps us to completely dive and become slaves of the matter is no longer valid, but we no longer want to partake in this slavery. So we start this sort of a process where slowly, every awakened individual consciousness, like a drop, contributes to this sort of process. And the more such beings, consciousnesses are there, the more we kind of start this process towards, when the darkness is there, but like this little light starts expanding and flipping the whole paradigm. But it doesn't happen in a day or in 100 years. It's a long process. But we as consciousness are always a contribution. The same goes when there is an upper cycle. So slowly, consciousness dives into the matter and accumulates and experience through, emotional interaction with the matter, with the other species or the other representations of the collective being. And so this way we also go the other way. So we go downwards, upwards, but these all are irrelevant. It's the way the mind interprets. After all, it's just like a conscious wave. It's just something that is there and then it's not. It's there and then it's not. So that's the thing which we need to realize. And then we just want to follow all these fancy techniques and ideas. All this is the result of the corruption, because spirituality is supposed to be natural from the beginning, and it is just a natural existence. But the more we go into corruption, the more fragmented our perception becomes, the more we emphasize different elements within our existence, and the more we hold on to them. And the same thing happens to our what? To our idea of spirituality. First, we're just spiritual beings, but then we fragment, we tangle more with the emotional realm, with the matter, with the different creative processes within the material world. And so we forget about natural being. And so the spirituality then becomes some sort of a aspect of our life, or some sort of a separate element which we need to pursue, which we need to kind of separate from our natural existence. And our existence is already not natural. So it's some kind of I would say limitation or conditioning there, ignorance, you may say, where all these obscurity that we've accumulated through the down cycle manifest as this obscure, fragmented spirituality. And we're just looking for splinters of the former shattered glass, where we don't see the wholesomeness of the existence, or the wholesomeness. The spirituality is everything. It is our emotional life. It is our thoughts and our beliefs and everything. But now all these things became our obstacles, our conditionings. And so if we want to start the process of evolution, we are to refine these things. First, we have to understand that the natural being is something we cannot box. We cannot box it into a concept. We cannot box it into it. It's a direct experience. And that is also what you call meditation. But during this so-called forced meditation, it's maybe a glimpse. It's maybe even nothing. So when you awaken to this natural being is like a essence. It's not something that you come to experience in glimpses. Maybe at the beginning, yes, but you realize that this is something so profound and fundamental that we've forgotten. So now we have to go back and to restore it, to just expand that being more and kind of drag it from within into our life so that it penetrates all the levels and layers of our existence. So then we realize, it's actually the being that exists through any experience, through any being, through any person, through any animal, anywhere. So then the idea of obscure, some kind of theoretical spirituality, or spirituality which is like limited to some being or a technique or a word, is gone. It dissolves in that space of existence.